is my humble task this morning to welcome you to this brief but meaningful flag raising event. We are happy that you can join us, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation, in collaboration with the United Nations Country Coordination Office, for this commemorative raising of the flag of the United Nations here at the National Heroes Park. Having risen out of the smoking embers of the Second World War, the UN has been committed to eliminating this disease of war from the body politic. Not only that, the UN today also encourages member states to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are briefly zero hunger, zero poverty, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduction of inequality, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals. All of these are intended to be achieved by 2030. Once achieved, this world will be transformed into something unimaginable. A world where no one has been left behind. A world where every child has a bright future uninhibited by poverty, subpar education, subpar sanitation, and subpar environmental conditions. What a world this would be to see little boys and girls strive through childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood, achieving life goal after life goal, empowered. Today, we will listen to brief virtual remarks by Mr. Didier Trebuch, UN Resident Coordinator for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, stationed in Barbados. Brief in-person remarks by the Honorable Mark Brantley, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Aviation, and be entertained by the sweet, smooth sounds of the steel pan. My name is Bjorn Hazel, Head of the Multilateral Division in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for this brief but memorable event. Please join me in standing as we raise the flag of the United Nations.
Really, it's a pleasure for me to join you all today in celebrating this United Nations Day under the theme Partnering for People, Planet and Prosperity. You know, this year marks the 76th anniversary since the entry into force of the United Nations Charters adopted in 1945 with the first 51 founding members. And I also wish to congratulate the government for its 38th year of UN membership. I'm aware that you would have celebrated your own anniversary earlier in September. And I must say that these 2 decades have seen a strong relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis and the UN. And really through my office and the UN team for the Eastern Caribbean, we are really seeking to deepen our engagement and partnerships to better support UNI's and national priority to attain the 2030 agendas and the Sustainable Development Goals. So today's tree planting ceremony is very timely, with COP26 being just a few days away. It is important for governments and citizens alike, especially young people, to step up for climate action. And we have a lot of expectation in this COP to reach, for example, the $100 billion target for climate finance, with at least 50% of it dedicated for adaptation to climate change, especially relevant for countries like in the Caribbean, and also to keep emissions below 1.5 degrees increase. I would like to say also that across-border seeds are doing their part to respond to climate emergency, while at the same time responding to an unprecedented socio-economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. But sadly, due to their multiple vulnerabilities, Caribbean countries are experiencing severe socio-economic shocks that are increasing debt and deepening existing inequalities amongst the most at-risk population. So in a way, it cannot be business as usual. As the UN Secretary General said when he came here in Barbados a few days ago, he said that greater solidarity is needed, and we also need a reinvigorated multilateralism to address the global challenges such as the climate emergency that I just mentioned. We are now compelled to be more than ever be more nimbler, more adaptive, but also certainly more inclusive in our response. That is why the UN Secretary General and member states launched our common agenda as a means to reinvigorate multilateralism, to think big for the next 25 years, and to reshape foundations for global cooperation and sustainable development on our planet. So to respond to emerging needs, under the UN reform, the UN Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean team is fully committed to delivering as one, and to ensure that our cooperation is strategically tailored to serve each country and support national priorities of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm really pleased that in St. Kitts and Nevis, we're in the process of finalizing our first joint UN system-wide country implementation plan. And this plan is intended to provide you with a more integrated support from the UN system. So it's really about bringing a distinctive offer that better tailor our policy and technical support to each country. Minister, you know that resilience building is at the core of our cooperation agenda, and we believe this is essential to accelerate progress towards the SDG and to help mitigate the multiple vulnerabilities and threats facing Caribbean seas. But let me emphasize that countries often face a situation of very limited fiscal space, as we know, and this is now further exacerbated because these vulnerabilities are not captured by income classification or GDP per capita classification. We have seen last year, as a result of COVID impact, an average increase of 20 points of indebtedness in the region. And this is sadly forcing governments to make a tough decision between servicing the people or servicing their debt. I therefore applaud the appeal made by Prime Minister Timothy Harris during his recent address at the UN General Assembly for development of a multidimensional vulnerability index to determine better countries' eligibility for financing. I furthermore welcome the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis will soon be one of the beneficiary countries under our new joint SDG Fund Joint program for social protection and youth empowerment in the Eastern Caribbean. This program is already making a major difference in the lives of the most vulnerable in St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as Antigua and Barbuda and the British Virgin Islands in the wake of COVID pandemics and the eruption of La Soufrière volcano, respectively. So, Honorable Minister, I know that you would have also benefited from COVID support from the UN-India Partnership Funds, for example, and you're also part of the Future Tourism Initiative. So we are all looking forward to building on those very positive foundations. And to further support our advocacy as one UN engagement at a national level, we have created, as you know, an extension of my office by installing country coordination officers in 6 Eastern Caribbean countries, including, of course, St. Kitts and Nevis, with Mr. Cuthbert Wood fulfilling this very important role in St. Kitts. And this new physical presence complements and supports the growing presence of UN agencies interventions, such as PAHO, UNDP, FAO, amongst others. So we see this as a defining step that reinforces our commitment to the region and solidifies our presence and impact in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, Minister, I really want to thank you personally for your strong support to this partnership. I therefore assure you of the assurances of our continued support as United Nations to ensure that no one is left behind. I thank you very much.
And to say that I stand here today enthused to celebrate along with you, for the achievement of 76 years of global collaboration under the guidance of the United Nations. This occasion also marks 38 years of membership that St. Kitts and Nevis has had with the UN since its induction after our independence on September 23, 1983. The United Nations has certainly demonstrated its fortitude in delivering on the main tenets of its charter. The United Nations is a harmonizing center for the preservation of international peace and security, the development of friendly relations among nations, and the advancement of solutions to international economic, social, cultural, humanitarian problems and the promotion of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. Today, across this terrestrial sphere, COVID-19 has been ravaging economies and societies, halting livelihoods, slowing development, and infecting and killing millions of people, the spin-off effects of which are innumerable. On this occasion, we must also commend the work of the World Health Organization, a specialized United Nations agency for establishing the COVAX facility and enabling access to vaccines and other medical products and technologies to combat COVID-19. They have truly provided much needed support and guidance during this global health crisis. Can you please stand with me and pause for a moment of silence for the lives that we have lost to this invisible enemy of COVID? Thank you. We extend deepest and sincerest condolences to the friends and families of the departed, and may you, the friends and family, find comfort during this difficult time. The United Nations has proven itself to be a champion for the various challenges faced by small island developing states, like our own St. Kitts and Nevis. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, with 169 targets, signifies the importance the UN attributes to people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. These kinds of initiatives aim to leave no one behind. It is important to note that the Foundational Research Report, Pursuing the Sustainable Development Goals in a World Reshaped by COVID-19, conducted by the Frederick S. Pardee Center for International Futures and United Nations Development Program, concludes, and I quote, "Prior to the pandemic, we were not on a development trajectory to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and the pandemic has further hindered our ability to leave no one behind." End of quote. The UN Environmental Programme Scorecard has noted that the Federation has taken some very positive actions in specific target areas under SDGs 1, 6, 7, 11, 12, 14, and 15 towards moving us closer to our goals. However, there is still significant work to be done to accelerate activities towards achieving the other goals to ensure that we remain on track with the aforementioned ones. We therefore call on our international partners, expressed in Goal 17, to attract investment in key drivers of development to help us achieve future development outcomes, surpassing what was likely prior to COVID-19. Importantly, through its principle of sovereign equality of all its members, the United Nations has provided a level ground on which independent nations participate equitably. All member states have one vote. It is for this and many other reasons why every September, world leaders from near and far travel to New York to participate in the General Assembly to make their voices heard. Indeed, no organization can attempt to boast of similar depth and global breadth as the UN possesses. We proudly reflect on that day on 23rd September 1983, when St. Kitts and Nevis deposited its instruments to become the 158th member of the United Nations. Today, that membership is yielding tangible results for the citizenry of the Federation. How, you may ask? The UN is embedded in the lives of Kittitians and Nevisians through its representatives strategically positioned on island to ensure that the UN is in tune with our needs and meeting them through programs and projects it continues to support. Today, we have in our Federation representatives from the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, Dr. Mark Williams, FAO National Correspondent, Ms. Aricia Williams, National Project Coordinator, CC4 Fish. We also have the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, represented by Ms. Katrina Smith, Country Program Specialist. And we have the United Nations Development Program, UNEP, represented by Ms. Elise Watts, National Coordinator for GEF SGP. As small island developing states, we advocated for a more permanent and impactful mechanism for the UN's presence, resources, and development services to be felt on the ground as well as in support of the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. The UN has heeded our cry and established the UN resident coordinator offices across the globe in response to the mandate given under the UN General Assembly Resolution 71/243. In the case of Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, the UN Resident Coordinator Office was established to lead the Barbados and Eastern Caribbean UN sub-regional team and the 6 UN country coordination offices based in the 6 independent OECS countries, while also overseeing UN operations in the 3 British overseas territories as outlined in the UN Multi-Country Sustainable Development Framework. With this new arrangement, we anticipate greater collaboration among the UN system, the government, and other key national stakeholders to better coordinate and streamline country-level programs and interventions in key thematic areas such as climate change, resilience and environmental protection, gender equality, inclusive growth, health, human rights, to state just a few. To this end, we welcome this new relationship with the UN system, in particular the recent recruitment of Mr. Cosbert Woods as our UN Country Coordination Officer for St. Kitts and Nevis, as an extension of the UN Resident Coordinator's Office for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Woods, and the regional team to fruitful ends for our Federation. The UN continues to optimize its potential to meet the modern and multifaceted demands. However, there is more reform that is needed to render a UN that is a more relevant organization and to meet the challenges of today. As the global community prepares for its participation in COP26, which will be hosted in Scotland from October 31st to November 12, 2021, it is critical that St. Kitts and Nevis, like the others, seize every opportunity to articulate its priority areas for national and regional sustainability, with particular focus on renewable energy and climate change adaptation. As a result of our locality being in the hurricane belt, small size, and limited natural resources, St. Kitts and Nevis remains highly vulnerable to the impact of climate change. As such, we must strategically engage our UN partners, in particular, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, in an effort to access the necessary technical assistance needed to address identified climate adaptation gaps. As I conclude these brief remarks, ladies and gentlemen, with the UN flag flying in the background, I wish for us to reflect on the impact that the United Nations has had on our lives and how we can play a role as an active member to deliver the future that we want. Let us continue to appreciate the diversity of people who serve in the United Nations and its agencies across the world to ensure that the world is safer, more peaceful, more equitable, and more united. Happy 76th anniversary to the United Nations. Thank you.
Firstly, I would like to start by expressing my thanks to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Mark Brantley, for his timely and fitting remarks as we celebrate the 76th anniversary of the UN, as well as the 38th year of membership of St. Kitts and Nevis within the UN structure. Minister, I think your remarks were very pertinent and helps to solidify St. Kitts and Nevis's commitment to the work of the UN system, as well as our thrust towards achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. I'd also like to express thanks to P.S. Bass for her partnership with the RCO, the UN RCO system, to coordinate this prestigious event, and for her dedication, her commitment, and her foresight in terms of bringing this activity and other activities planned for the future to solidify the Federation's new partnership with the UN system. I'd also like to express special thanks to key staff members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in particular Ms. Maynard, Ms. Francis, and Mr. Hazel for assisting with the logistics to bring this important event to fruition. We thank you for your time and your commitment, and we look forward to collaborating with you in similar events going forward. To the guest artist for his lovely renditions of the national anthem and of a nice song to set the tempo for this very important occasion. Also to the members of the Defense Force for exercising their duty very diligently. As in the background we see both flags of St. Kitts and Nevis and the UN flying high as a testimony to the relationship that we are about to embark upon. Also to the media, in particular SKNIS and Mr. James and his team for the logistical arrangements in terms of providing coverage and pictures for this very important event, which we hope will become an annual event that we can continue to grow and build on for years and years to come. Also to our UN agency reps on the ground here for their participation in the ceremony, particularly PAHO and the FAO. It really solidifies your commitment to the work here on the ground in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I look forward to working closely with you as we help to develop programs in a very strategic and impactful manner here in the Federation. And last, Mr. Didier Tribute for his leadership and helping to bring this level of coordination to bear with the completion of the establishment of the UN coordination officers in all of the OECS countries now, so that we can move forward with the work of the One UN system in a very strategic and coordinated manner. I think that the work and effort of the UNRCO, as well as its team in Barbados, is a testament to the new journey that we are about to embark on with the government and stakeholders here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I think we are on the right track, and we will be able to achieve great things as we maintain a collaborative approach and stay focused on the goal ahead of us. So at this time, I would like to thank all other participants for showing up and for participating in this ceremony. We appreciate your time and effort today, and I look forward to engaging you in a future capacity as we roll out the work of the UN within the Federation. Thank you.